There's a mini PS5 update out now, but it's actually pretty cool. Your DualSense battery is about to get even worse. And let's talk about handhelds. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the weekend update here on PSReady. I've got my friend, Ray Trevino, here for the ride. He's got a chain. He's got a watch.
I do got a chain.
Look at this guy. He's always so well dressed. I always feel pressure to step up my outfit game when I come into the office because I know Ray is going to be looking good. First up, we have a small PS5 update, which, you know, I was like, cool, 100 megabyte update, whatever. It's actually got a cool feature to it. So now when you go look at a game on the PlayStation Store, it's going to have all of the accessibility options laid out right there. So you can know before you drop $60 or even $70 on a game.
Do you know the full list of features that is it? Text to speech?
I got it right here.
Read the menu. Yeah.
First category, visual accessibility features, such as clear text, large text, color alternatives, audio cues, and directional audio indicators. So it's like letting you know exactly what's going to be there. Then you've got audio features, which are mono audio, screen reader, stuff like that. A lot of games now, when you start them up, they have the screen reader already enabled, which is scary.
It's
because
really
it's loud
scary.
as hell.
It's really scary.
Press start to make a new character. And it's like, whoa.
When I fired up Wolong, I was like, yeah, it was chirping at me already. And then again with Hogwarts Legacy.
Who is Wolong?
Like, dude, we don't know, man. I didn't 100% it, so I guess maybe it's at the end of that. But I beat the final like dragon blind boy boss, and he was not Wolong.
Subtitles and captions, control options, including button remapping, thumbstick sensitivity. That one's weird because you can just remap any game with the operating system of the PS5. You can change the controls of the DualSense for individual games or just the system across the board, but it's nice to know that they're including that feature, I guess. Gameplay options such as difficulty settings, skippable puzzles, simplified QuickTime events, and game speed. So if you're playing a JRPG, I'd turn that speed up, baby. Online communication, so you can stop cyberbullying in its tracks. I just think stuff like this is cool, and I like when Sony does back-end updates on the PlayStation Store because it's like, this time around, it's its own app that's built into the operating system versus being a web browser that like ghost launches when you go to it. And I think it's cool to see how those things update. Next up, let's talk about this Activision Blizzard deal because things are really heating up now. Jim Ryan basically said, look, I'm not saying Xbox is going to sabotage Call of Duty on PlayStation in the future, but if they do...
But then he said that.
He literally said the meme. He said the meme. He was like, we will never financially recover from this. He was like... this will kill us. It'll cripple Sony. He is pulling out all the stops.
Yeah, I was reading about this. It all ties back to the CMA's decision to... They went from, yeah, we're not really about this deal, to being like, okay, we don't really have a problem with this deal. And obviously Sony is not happy about that.
Right.
And Jim Ryan...
He's like, we'll never financially recover from this situation. And then he hit the gwitty. He really went hard on that. He's really like kind of harping on that Call of Duty stuff, really convinced that they would release a buggy version of Call of Duty on PlayStation consoles. I don't even know what the logic there is because they've used the same engine for Call of Duty like forever, and it obviously runs just fine on the PlayStation. And Xbox has said that for at least 10 years, they will take advantage of the DualSense and stuff like that, all the features that the PS5 has that the Xbox doesn't. They were even saying like the better version will be on PlayStation. They just want Activision as a whole so they can get into mobile, they can keep Call of Duty coming out on Game Pass. They even said Sony would be allowed to release Call of Duty on PlayStation Plus, which that doesn't really feel like a concession.
Don't want to do that.
Why would they want to do that, right? Because it's like the best-selling game, but they're basically saying like, we're going to put it on Game Pass, so we'll just dilute the market that way. So we'll give you the ability to do so as well.
Yeah, listen, I see both sides because like I was looking at a chart like on the top publishers in terms of sales, and like EA is like solidly at the top consistently. Yeah. And then Activision Blizzard is kind of under them. And then Microsoft and Sony are kind of like in the middle right there. But then, Microsoft grabs Activision Blizzard. They're suddenly like catapulted to like closer to the top when it comes to, overall trending games and units sold and blah, 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 blah. So I've always said like, even though, I personally want the deal to be approved, I see why Sony is trying to block this deal because like, they don't gain anything by Microsoft getting Activision Blizzard. If anything, it just like you gain nothing if you're Sony. But at the same time, if you're Microsoft, you have a pretty damn good incentive to support Call of Duty on PlayStation consoles, much like you do Minecraft already with the upcoming Legends is going to be fully supported on all consoles because of the install base on PlayStation, right? You want to make money off of those units being sold. You don't want them to be like, okay, let me go and jump and try to get on Xbox. It'd be much easier if you would just continue to make money on the platforms as they exist right now.
And you know what the weird thing is? I associate Activision stuff like Call of Duty with PlayStation now, but really it was 360 back in the day. Blizzard, I definitely associate more with Xbox. It's kind of like Bethesda, where it's like more PC oriented, more like hardcore nerdy type games that I enjoy. I play those on PC usually, so I'd be fine for them to be over on Xbox because it doesn't affect me at all.
Yeah. Well, here's what I ultimately think is that, Jim Ryan is citing these things of like, oh, it would cause irreparable harm to our business because they would see that these games are buggy.
You're going to say he's going to cause a ruckus. I was like, that's so funny.
Yeah, he's saying like it will cause harm to our business and people will jump ship from PlayStation and then go to Xbox instead. I honestly don't think that I don't think that's in Microsoft's end game, me personally, because straight up console sales from a 1-to-1, PlayStation has already kind of run away with it, right? When you account for all the PlayStation 4 sold versus the Xbox Ones, and they're starting to break away even more this generation with PlayStation sales versus Xbox Series sales.
Right.
I really don't think Xbox is trying to get people to necessarily buy more Xboxes. I think mostly they're trying to like build up their kind of publishing side and trying to like build up Game Pass, spread out cloud gaming, expand on the PC market. And if you buy more Xboxes, sure, that's great because that is the most straightforward way to build the Xbox ecosystem, of course. But I don't think they're really trying to gun after Sony and try to beat them in console sales.
Right. And it would honestly be good because Sony, in my opinion, having been a PlayStation gamer for a long time, the best era of Sony was when they were getting their ass beat for a while by Microsoft. They were giving away free games. That was when they did the Vita, and you could get games like where you would go to the store, you'd buy a boxed copy of PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, you would get a free Vita code with it. They made the online free at that point. Like that was when we started to get really catered to by Sony, and now they're like trying to be the premier service where things are expensive. The PSVR 2 is expensive. We'll talk about what they're doing with the handhelds a little bit more in a minute. So yeah, if Sony does get competition, I think ultimately that's good because then we'll see them start trying to keep people on the PlayStation versus assuming that people are going to stay on PlayStation.
Yeah, it's all kind of an ebb and flow, Xbox was ahead for a brief period of time and then they ran away with it at the end of PS3 generation into PS4, and then Xbox dropped the ball. So Xbox is like, okay, we should get some exclusive stuff ourselves. Let's just buy a bunch of studios.
Well, it looks like Sony's going to have a secret weapon up their sleeves, though, soon enough. Because have you heard about this temperature changing DualSense that they just patented? Is this going to take down Xbox?
I don't know, but there are some interesting patents flying around with Xbox and with now Sony, because on the Xbox side, it's all about let's put a touchscreen on the Xbox,
so is that,
similar to the trackpad.
There was some drama here. Was that an Xbox patent or was that a Turtle Beach patent?
Okay, so there's two. One of them is from Microsoft themselves. It's an LCD touchscreen on the Xbox. Okay. And then there was a Turtle Beach patent, and that is a separate thing. And that has a touchscreen on it, so there's a bit of confusion, but it's a controller that can connect to social media and track your gaming performance and stuff like that. So two separate patents. The prevailing factor is the touchscreen on the Xbox controller. So interesting timing that we're seeing like a temperature changing patent for Sony on the DualSense.
This is like that. They can't keep getting away with this meme. Stop adding features to these controllers because you know what that causes? A problem when you make the PS6. Every feature that is used by a Sony game needs to be supported in perpetuity. That's why they need to have this freaking touchpad on the DualSense controller because they were adamant about including it on the DualShock 4 and like only Sony games used it. But now every game you play, you got to open the map with the touchpad and that's all it's ever used for, period. Because of
It's
that.
true.
Now they've got adaptive triggers. They've got haptic feedback. You know what the PS6 has to include going forward? Adaptive triggers and haptic feedback. They also, thank God, took out the light bar from the controller, but they needed to have that for the longest time to support PSVR 1. So they have to have some sort of light on the DualSense controller.
And the speaker.
And the freaking speaker, which is useless. That speaker scares the me when I'm playing Dead Space and I get this audio log, or in The Last of Us Part 1, tap the controller to make your flashlight turn on, and like sounds like there's a flashlight in your controller. It's cool.
It is cool.
It
You know what I
kills
think
your
is the
battery.
You know what I think is the most egregious for the speaker is when you're playing a multiplayer or online game and people are using that as their microphone and they're like not muting or turning it off. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Dude, you hear that? Dude, that's the worst. On the DualSense that has a microphone built in, when they leave it on and you hear their stomach gurgling, it makes me want to stop doing everything I'm doing and just go to bed. 3 p.m., I'm tucking in. I'm getting my nightcap and my sleepy time tea, and I'm passing out. I can't handle hearing people's stomach noises through the controller. It's gross. Yeah, you can hear it's like, because dudes like, well, you know, the kickback and the lazy boy, they'll grab a Diet Dr. Pepper, some Doritos, they'll be jamming on the couch, and then they'll just like put the controller on their stomach here, and then you just hear it. It's terrible. It's always in Destiny and Call of Duty too, so I just turn off voice chat and everything. So yeah, once again, another feature they're going to have to keep going forward.
So what is the intent of changing the temperature? Like, is it immersion? Like
Yeah,
you step
you
into
go to
like a burning
Muspelheim, you're like,
forest?
whoa, I'm in the volcano arena, and it's like your controller's going to use the haptic feedback to heat up. I don't understand how it's going to get cooler, or if that's part of this, but theoretically, if you were going to Europa and Destiny, it'd be cold.
That sounds like a can of worms. Like that sounds dangerous. That sounds dangerous for the internal components of the controller.
Yeah, it's like,
You don't want your tech to run hot. Like no one is like, I wish my laptop was running hotter, or I wish my PC was running hotter.
I don't know. I just don't know, Sony. What's going on here? Do you need an intervention? You have feedback directly from consumers for 2 generations now that is basically just give us better battery life, not a light that blinds you when you turn on your PS4. But here we are. Now we're putting heaters in our controllers. It's time to stop. Please.
That was a very passionate plea. I liked that.
Speaking of things Sony needs to stop working on, let's talk about the Q-Lite handheld, which is allegedly coming out between now and the end of 2024. Now, this thing could come out, and all the rumors could be wrong, and we could be blown away with its power and prowess, which is what I'm crossing my fingers for. But as of what we know now, not super excited about this thing. Do you know about the Q-Lite?
Is it similar to the G Cloud for Xbox?
Yes, but
is it
it's different.
cloud based?
No,
is it streaming
kind
based?
of. So like, okay, it's not a cloud handheld. It is a handheld that you need a PS5 for, because you will use this handheld to connect to the internet wherever you are. So whether you're at home, you're at the NIM hotel, hanging out, having some Mai Tais, or you're at in Vegas, I don't know, wherever you would go to a hotel, you can connect to the internet, turn on your PS5 wherever it's plugged in, and remote play from your PS5. So it's not like the G Cloud, which allows you to like connect to Xbox Live or Xbox Game Pass or GeForce Now and stream games from the internet from a PC that's in the
It
cloud.
has to be PS5.
It's your PS5. So this is like a PSVR 2 style thing where it's going to be a supplementary $200 to $300 purchase on top of your console that you already have, which is one problem with it.
Remote play over a vast distance sort of interests me, because right now, I mean, on Xbox, you have to be on the same Wi-Fi network.
Yeah.
So it's like, that is kind of interesting to me, but it is also a little bit weird.
Do it on your phone. You can do it on your phone or your laptop already. So doesn't this just sound like a backbone controller?
Oh, so the screen is pretty small.
I'm assuming, like, how big do you think it's going to be? It's going to be a portable console. It's not going to be like 12 inches. Sony doesn't take losses, so it's probably going to be $250 to $300. And anyone with a functioning brain is going to sit there like, I can pay $100 more and get a Steam Deck, and it can do remote play to the PS5, and it can play PS4 games natively. Why would you not just buy a Steam Deck?
You don't have access to the full PlayStation library, though. Just like whatever they decide to port over
But you
on
could
a
just
whim.
you could do the remote play. You could do what this thing does. You can remote play to your PS5 and play your PS5 games on the Steam Deck.
Can you do it on a different Wi-Fi network?
I think so.
Okay, well,
It works
yeah,
really
yeah.
well.
I see your point now.
It's not official. So like the big drawback there is it's like not official. You have to use like a different app or something. But it's easy to set up. Like I did it. Took a few minutes. It wasn't anything crazy. And remote play on Sony's side, like all jokes aside, works really well. I used to bring my PS4 and my Vita to the newspaper room because I was the editor-in-chief of the newspaper at my college, and I'd have to wait all night for everyone to finish their pages. So I would just grind Destiny. I'd have my PS4 plugged in, and I'd remote play it on my Vita, and it was awesome. It like worked really well on my extremely expensive college's terrible internet. So yeah, this thing, allegedly we're going to see it between now and next year. I don't really like the name, if that is the name, Q-Link, like, or Q-Lite. What does that mean? What is that? What is the Q? Quality?
Quasar gaming.
Sony's got to like have a mass meeting with everyone who works at every division of Sony. And whoever just named the PlayStation, they should hire that guy back and rename everything.
It seems like these companies are willing to do anything besides make their own version of the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
They're like,
which is crazy.
Let's do like a half version of Steam
the same
Deck.
chip as the PS5. I don't know what's going on. Please. Sony, make a Vita too. I'm begging you. A lot of pleas for help in this episode of PSReady. We'll see. This is all part of Sony's phase 2 of the PS5. Everything else sounds cool between the PS5 Pro, PS5 Slim, these new earbuds, this new headset. I'm excited for all that. I'm just like skeptical of this handheld.